How much of the wealth and power of England is based on slavery? It has been called the greatest crime in the history of the world, a crime of white people against black people. But all the whites were not guilty, and all the blacks were not innocent. It was a crime of humanity against itself. I am a Jamaican, and some of my own ancestors were slave owners. Some of them were slaves, but others were missionaries. And for me, the story begins here, in the church of St. Mary Woolnoth in the city of London. For here, of a Sunday, 200 years ago, one would have seen the faces of those men who led the fight against slavery. Granville Sharp, who almost single-handed brought an end to slavery in England itself. Thomas Clarkson, who searched out the truth about the slave trade and told it to the English people. Olaudah Equiano, kidnapped from his childhood home, who survived the plantations and became a crusading English gentleman. William Wilberforce, their spokesman in Parliament and their leader. The man they came to hear was the Reverend John Newton, author of the hymn, How Sweet the Name of Jesus Sounds. Newton, a deserter from the Navy, a self-confessed rogue, and once himself a slave captain. People came for many miles just to hear him preach. What he had to say was not so much a sermon as a public confession.
I speak from memory, but the things which I saw, heard, and felt upon the coast of Africa are so deeply engraven in my memory that I can hardly forget or greatly mistake them, while I am capable of remembering anything. I dare appeal to the great searcher of hearts, in whose presence I stand and before whom I shall shortly appear, that I shall advance nothing but what to the best of my judgment and conscience is true.
In the year 1750, the young Newton was in Liverpool, about to take command of his first ship, the Duke of Argyll, bound for the West African coast.
Good day, Mr. Bannister.
And to you, Captain, as I'm pleased to call you now.
I am sensible of the honor and of the duty I owe to you, sir.
Where'd you sail?
On the flood.
I reckon upward of 100 sail will clear from Liverpool this season. There'll be no lack of competition on the coast, so mind your business and trade shrewdly. I'll take a glass with you. Your orders, which you may study at leisure. You're to make best speed for the windward coast.
I have experience of it.
Your health. Be most choice in the purchase of your slaves. No ruptured men, or idiots, or any spider-legged quality. No distempered. No old women, only those that will answer the place of sale and stand the voyage. Be sure to close the ports at night, as the night air is most pernicious. I've instructed you to clear the coasts before the rains, as at such times they dive faster than you can buy them.
Your instructions, sir, are so complete, I wonder you do not go yourself.
My agents will inform you of the going price. I expect some £50 a head. Load with sugar, ginger, mahogany, pimento, and some 10 puncheons of rum. What's this?
It is my habit, sir, to keep a daily journal.
So long as you lose no duty by it. And make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Captain, in the event of your mortality, Mr. Bridgeton will take command. Oh, and Captain, my wife, Mrs. Manistee, will be most highly pleased if you bring her back some pineapples. She's most fond of pineapples. Godspeed, Captain Newton.
In the year Captain Newton set sail from Liverpool, the slave trade was approaching its height, and the culture and traditions of Africa were being threatened by the ships from Europe prowling around her coasts. Young Equiano was still a child who had never ventured outside the boundaries of his native village. His boyhood was about to be brutally interrupted.
Thursday, November the 1st. Saw the land, Sierra Leone, bearing southeast 16 leagues. Gave 2 of my gentlemen a good caning and put William Lees in irons for refusing to keep his watch and threatening the boatswain. The carpenters fixed the keel on the longboat. Lower the boat.
Well, Mr. Newton. Captain Newton, what a delight.
A pleasure to see you, Henry.
Yes, a pleasure.
I got your message at the Plantains, and knowing I'd rather deal with you than any other on the coast, we made fair speed.
That's it. Honesty is the best policy. No captain made trade with Henry Tucker that could complain after.
Mr. Bredson. Henry Tucker, you're a double-dealing rogue. You sent Captain Ellis and myself the same message.
I can't deceive you, Captain, but I had no way of knowing you would come.
If Ellis is to get the trade, I've wasted my time.
He's almost slave, and Willie Honesty has promised him some more. He will sail tomorrow or the next day. You stay where you are. I promise you there will be a run.
If you are still alive. In these wars you speak of, are you safe?
Safer than you, anchored in the bay. I have 6 wives, so I have many relatives, and many slaves, all armed. Let them quarrel among themselves. They won't touch Henry Tucker. Without me, there is no trade.
Dash! A gift for you, Henry, from Mr. Manistee in Liverpool.
Well. I am most pleased, most grateful. I think Ellis has enough. You will have preference now. How many slaves you get already?
12.
How long you been on the coast?
Nearly a month.
You do bad trade that way. 2 from Will Freeman, 3 from Kumbenach, 1 from San Fantine canoe. Bad. I deal in big batches.
And your price is very low.
That's true. I know some are asking 70 bars, and some are paying it.
Frenchman, I warrant.
Henry Tucker never asked more than 65. Big, strong man, 65 bars. You're present now. You value the musket at 10 bars, huh? The cloth at 3, the brandy 8. For 21 bars, you could have a nice little girl.
That was a present, Henry.
Top price, 65. But no false bottoms in the brandy. No cloth cut shot in the inside. The kettles must hold water.
No long-breasted women, no dropsy, no yaws.
I trust you, Captain Newton. You trust me. A Bristol man did that to me last year. Kettles that could hold no water. No more Bristol men.
We can trust Tucker, but not entirely. Tomorrow you'll take the longboat up the river yourself and seek your own trade.
Aye, sir. How many men can I take?
I can spare you 4.
Good day.
Mister.
Good teeth? Good teeth, yes. No sickness? Muskets. Powder and flint. Kettles. Kettles. 2.
No.
3. 4 kettles. Ah, yes, Rommel. 2 bowls of Rommel, yes? Good, yes. Good. Get them below.
What is this commotion, Mr. Arthur?
Well, that one, sir, he'll fetch a fine price.
I thought he was a trader.
Well, he was, but if we take him and keep the goods...
We are not thieves, Mr. Arthur. Who taught you commerce? For the sake of one black, you destroy my reputation on the Windward Coast. Release him.
I was told it is a common practice.
On some ships, not on mine. Besides, it is good policy to encourage Africans to enter the trade.
Captain! Captain! Mr. Tucker say come and show. Plenty slave, plenty dash.
Has Mr. Britson come back? Mr. Britson! White man, go upriver.
No white man. Mr. Tucker say come ashore.
Tell Mr. Tucker I'll come tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I told him on no account to stay longer than a week. If Mr. Britson cannot keep to his orders, he will find himself left behind when we sail.
Apo! Apo, Apo! What I promise, good slaves, very good. 65.
Yes. No.
Look again, she's very strong.
No long-breasted women.
She don't buy, she no use. Cut off her head, throw her in river.
She's no use to me.
Plenty use. On ship, old woman keep young ones quiet. He thinks you want to eat him.
Henry, you'll oblige me by not confirming his opinion. On my last voyage, the captain was ill enough advised to come among the slaves with a glass of red wine. They thought it blood, and in the panic that followed, 3 of them committed suicide by leaping into the sea.
A fine boy. You will make a house slave. 50 bars.
40.
45.
40.
You want them all branded?
Only the top quality. The rest will be sold in batches.
Look, he's a Fanti from the Coromantine coast. Too much pride, not enough fear. You pay the full price. San Planta will pay the full price. But he will not sleep easy in his bed at night.
As soon as Mr. Britson returns with the longboat, I'll sail east for Anamaboo. Will you have more on my return?
If you advance me some goods.
Agreed. Send these on board tonight. You'll have the goods in the morning. I should regret his loss. His death would considerably retard my business.
No good for white man to trade upriver. Too much fever, too much war. Captain, when you go, you send me the longboat, huh? I will pay 4 slaves.
6.
6.
You can say farewell to Africa, Mr. Arthur.
And gladly.
Does she answer?
Aye, sir.
Due south until we clear the coast. Break fast the jib. Hoist the foresail.
How long will it take us?
Some 60 days, with God's help. But if the winds be unfavorable... Remember, there is a bounty for the surgeon for each slave delivered in Jamaica in good condition. The worst of your task is yet to come. How many have we lost so far?
Mr. Britson and the carpenter, Edward Lawson and William Tuckett, and young Thomas Britson.
Of the slaves?
17.
They know. They always know when she's underway.
The Middle Passage. In the 50s and 60s of the 18th century, more than 200 ships a year made the dreaded crossing from Africa to the New World. It was said that you could smell a slaver 20 miles downwind, and that the sharks followed these vessels all the way across the Atlantic.
I'm not going to hurt you. Let me look at your leg. Grease and sulfur. I have allowed some sick and some of the smaller slaves on deck this morning.
That's proper, as long as this weather holds.
It is arduous to minister to them below, the floor being so slippery and their confinement so close.
Have as many up as you wish, consistent with safety. But have a care. I have heard of ships in which the slaves have risen, killed the crew, and being unable to sail the vessel, drifted until they starved to death. If it were my choice, I would carry half the number and deliver them all alive. My dearest Mary, no one can conceive the contrast between my present situation, distracted with the noise of slaves, suffocated with the heat, and the sweet, agreeable evenings I have passed in your company. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will we not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were removed, he uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord. See what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Amen. Dismiss. Are you well?
Yes.
I have noted that you neglect your food. And you're using too much of this for one so young.
That's nothing. This flux with which they're affected, nothing prevails against it. It's the most violent form of dysentery.
I'm talking about you.
Sir, I find my own ration stick in my throat when I see...
A pox on sympathy, Mr. Arthur. You will save no lives by endangering your own. Helen! Helen! Shackles are free!
Lower the boat.
So I put the boy in irons and slightly in the thumb screws to urge him to a full confession. I can sincerely say that I have endeavored to do my duty by them without oppression, ill language, or any kind of abuse, remembering that I also have a master in heaven, and there is no respecter of persons with him. Friday, 7th of June, departed this life Gideon Meacham of a fever. Wednesday, 12th of June, buried a man-slave, number 84, of a flux. Thursday, 13th of June, buried a woman-slave, number 47. Know not what to say she died of, for she has not been properly alive since she first came on board. Saturday, 22nd of June. I've seen 2 or 3 tropic birds and a few flying fish. Friday, 28th of June. Buried a girl slave, number 172, of a flux. I begin to think long for the land.
In the 18th century, the islands of the West Indies were the most highly prized of all Britain's overseas possessions. The largest and most flourishing was the island of Jamaica.
Captain Newton?
Mr. Gibson?
That's right. John Gibson, on behalf of Manistee & Co. of Liverpool. Welcome to the island.
Thank you. Mr. Manistee is as precise and as greedy as ever. How shall we proceed with the business of sale?
You mustn't worry about anything. I will attend to it.
Is the market good?
£55. I remember years when captains have had to peddle them from port to port, selling 2, 3 at a time. Nothing like that now. Sugar price is good. 3 new plantations are being cleared, and everybody's extending cultivation. And then there is planters' policy.
Planters' policy? What might that be?
Some used to say it was better to train them slow and let them grow old, coddle them, you know, but that doesn't pay. The policy now is to work them really hard for a few years, then replace them, which is good for business. In the island now, we have a market for 50,000 a year. So it only depends on the condition of your cargo.
I'm overdue, and we've had the flux.
How many did you lose?
28.
Better sell them quickly. It's not worth the time to fatten them for auction. If you can have them oiled and shaved, cork those that are incontinent. I'll get a good meal on board to brighten them up a little. We have to avoid what happened on board the Prince of Orange.
What was that?
Some slave from the island got on board and told them they'd been brought there to fill cooking pots. Every man jack jumped overboard and tried to drown themselves.
Son! You brute!
Mr. Lyle. Come up, sir. Come up. This is Mr. Lyle, very big planter, one of our best customers.
Gibson? Tell that captain to move his ship. I can smell it from here.
Morning, Mr. Lyle. Morning, sir. Let me introduce you to Captain Newton.
David Lyle, at your service, sir.
How do you do?
I hope you had an uneventful voyage. Not too much trouble.
No more than average.
Mr. Lyle is one of our leading planters.
Where did you get your cargo?
At Sherborough on the Windward Coast.
That's usually good quality. How are you selling?
By scramble.
I don't like that.
It's the fairest way.
I like to choose. Perhaps you'll do me the favor of selecting me a few in advance.
I couldn't possibly do that, Mr. Lyle. My reputation.
Oh, well. Pleasure meeting you, Captain. It's always nice to see a new face. You'll dine with me before you leave. Take you around the estate. Show you to what good use we put your cargo.
It would be my pleasure.
Good day, Gibson.
Keep him aboard. I have a buyer for him. You will be fortunate, my boy.
Put aside some of the best men you hear for Mr. Lyle.
Is anything done to keep the families together?
We would try if we could, but it's never possible. You may be sure they soon forget. Mr. Lyle, fine-looking lot, sir.
Ah, Captain Newton. You'll be staying with Gibson?
He has done me the honor.
Shall I expect you in the morning, then?
Thank you.
Windsor Castle?
Yes.
Windsor Castle Estate. 2 men, 1 man boy, 2 girls. Mr. Murray, Belvedere Estate. 2 girls. 130 at £55 a head. 7,150.
Will I have cargo for the journey home?
With sugar at the price I can get it for you at, even Mr. Manister will be pleased. He should clear 15,000 on this voyage. You coming, Captain?
Presently. During the time I was engaged in the slave trade, I never had the least scruple as to its lawfulness. It was accounted a genteel employment, and certainly very profitable. Yet, even in my blindness, I often petitioned in my prayers that the Lord in his own time would fix me in a more humane calling. I sinned with a high hand and made it my study to tempt and seduce others. As God is my judge, it will always be a humiliation to me that I was once an active instrument in a business at which my heart now shudders.
Brought up on a plantation in Jamaica, which my father bought in 1935, 100 years after the slaves were set free. While he rode the property on his mule, my brothers and I had played in the ruins of the Great House, ruins haunted by the ghosts of slavery. Each plantation was its own community. Great House, Overseer's House, Sugar Mill, Boiling House, and somewhere out of sight, a slave village. 200 years ago, to own such property in the Caribbean was like being a Greek ship owner or a Texas millionaire. The money went back to England to build stately homes, buy seats in Parliament, and marry the daughters into the nobility. Sometimes the planters took their slaves to England, so that by 1770 there were some 20,000 black slaves in Britain, a circumstance which was to lead to the first pitched battle in the fight against slavery.
Come on. Touch up, go ahead. All right, come on. Come on. Come on, you lazy nigger. Bust your backside for you.
Deans, I want that field finished today.
Yes, sir. Do my best, sir.
Do better. The lazy brutes can cut twice as much if they want to. Old Matty.
Yes, Bakra. Matty here, Bakra.
Yes, Bakra. Matty here, Bakra. Matty, I want 24 bundles of grass today. If one shot, 10 lash for you, and 3 for each of the children.
No, sir. You can't beat me. 10 lashes send me to my grave.
You no good anywhere else?
How you mean no good? Try me now. Try me now. You try the other young gal already.
All right. Move out.
Come on.
I said move out. Burgess, put some clothes on them. Give them something to eat and send them to me in the cane field.
There are some islands off the windward coast called the Plantains. And it was on one of them that I was myself a slave.
Come, Captain Newton. You must not ask me to believe that.
'Tis true, ma'am. I was assistant to a trader who'd taken as his wife the daughter of a Sherbro chieftain. I being white, she was jealous of my influence on her husband. When he was away and I was ill, she abused me terribly, kept me short of food and water, and set her servants on to beat me.
No, it's an old sailor's tale. Slave to a black woman. I'm so sorry. Put it down. No, put the cup down. Give the coffee pot to Strong. Now stand over there. Turn around, face to the wall. Hand on your head and stand on one leg. I'm so sorry. It is quite impossible to train these people. They are invincibly ignorant.
In Africa, I have encountered some instances of native wit.
Then you must take it from them on the passage here. Strong, did you wash your hands?
Yes, Mrs.
After breakfast, I'll show you the estate.
Do not trouble yourself on my account.
It is my husband's greatest pleasure.
Acres in the sugarcane now. Another 20 coming up next year. I'll have to enlarge the mill. Yeah. Not as elegant as the Romans. The side of civilization nonetheless. This provides power for the sugar mill, which I'll show you later. And the boiling house, if you can stand the heat. One butter. I beg your pardon?
Religious instruction. I asked about their religious instruction.
Eh? You cannot teach the gospel to an orangutan. Some of them think that baptism is the first step to freedom. I do not encourage that belief.
Then they work on Sundays?
The Sundays their own, to grow their own food. The cost of feeding the brutes will otherwise be intolerable.
Stop. Give me that. Do it like this. Yeah? There. Dean, after him.
What's his name?
We don't name him yet, sir.
And they should name him in honor of our guest. Call him Newton.
Yes, sir.
Give him 36 lashes and put him in the collar.
I think he was frightened by the horse, Mr.
You
Lyle.
heard what I said, Mr. Mackenzie?
Yes, sir.
How long will that slave be in the collar?
A week, maybe 2.
No, thank you. I have had my fill.
You have a shallow draft for the ship's captain?
In my occupation, it is never safe to dull the senses.
In mine, sir, it is necessary.
How will he sleep?
Who? Oh? I see my jest struck home. You're worried about your namesake. He'll sleep standing up like a horse.
They don't have the same feelings that we do.
I beg to differ with you, ma'am. I have endured the lash myself and have administered it to black and white, and I can assure you the effects are the same.
You intrigue me, Captain Newton. A slave captain with a tender heart.
You flatter me, ma'am, and my crew would not agree with you. But I use punishment only to ensure obedience and for the safety of the vessel.
Are you suggesting, sir, that I take pleasure in it?
I would not be so presumptuous. But I confess some interest in the welfare of my cargo. And I find it very strange to buy a slave for £50 and kill him within 6 months.
The black must be broken like a horse, like a mule. 1 in every 3 dies in the seasoning period, but one must sustain the loss. The seasoning must go on until there is no will, no habit left, but the habit of obedience. Do you know what happened at Ballard's Valley? Well, they killed every white person they could find. They mixed their blood with rum and drank it. The ringleader was a slave called Tacky. When the militia caught up with him, they tied him to a post. They put his legs in the fire, starting with his feet and right up to his thighs. That savage never uttered a cry.
Morning, Mr. Lyle.
Morning, Mackenzie.
Very hot today, sir.
Yeah. I guess...
Strong,
I want to be in the car.
Yes, Mrs.
Fetch Elizabeth.
I need a new copper for the boiling house. I've been meaning to raise this question with you, sir.
Hmm?
You know I have a little boy on the estate.
Yes. Yes, I've seen him before.
Could you set a price on him, sir? I quite like the boy, and I'd like to buy his freedom.
Get the papers drawn up, Mackenzie. There'll be no price.
Yes, Mrs.
Thank you, Mr. Lyle.
Mr. Mackenzie,
Yes, ma'am?
would you come up, please? Come in. This one. She has become slack in her duties and forward in her manner. You could do me the favor of brisking her up a bit.
Yes, Mrs. Lyle. I'll attend to it.
Now,
I'll just take her into the backyard now.
When the crop is over, I'm going back to London.
why so suddenly?
Don't you want to go?
With all my heart I do.
Then we shall.
Oh, David,
Hmm?
can we take Strong with us? We shall need a servant on board ship.
Why not? They're quite the fashion in London.
John Newton had returned to England and was preparing to sail from Liverpool on his 4th voyage as a slaving captain to the African coast.
Have you seen your new ship, Captain Newton?
She's too broad in the beam, Mr. Menasty, and I doubt she will be easy to handle.
But you can carry twice as many slaves, increasing your commission.
I would be happier, sir, with less loss of life. On the Duke of Argyll, I lost 28 blacks and 7 of my crew. Last year, I carried only 87, but I lost none.
The achievement was much remarked upon, but the profit was low. Shall we inspect the ship?
Go on ahead, sir. I will join you.
The doctor says you're in no danger.
I will not sail again.
No, not this year, perhaps.
Never. It was a warning from the Almighty that I should forsake this business. I shall find some other employment.
What will you do?
I shall do his will.
The better part of 300,000, I'll wager.
I've been so long out of society.
Society? Beckford may be the richest man in England, but he's still a West Indian sugar planter like myself.
You do not have £150,000 a year?
John Featherstone, Esquire, and Mrs. Featherstone. The Earl of Mansfield, Lord Chief Justice of England. Simon Knowles, Esquire, of Virginia. David Lyle, Esquire, and Mrs. Lyle. Here, Blackie. Douglas Hankey, Esquire, and Mrs. Hankey. Wait in the servants' hall. Lord and Lady Ludlow. The Duchess of Devonshire. I sent you to the servants' hall.
I don't know where it is, master.
Down there at the end of the hall, there's a small door. Through that, down below stairs.
Come here. What are you gazing at? Just amazed to see white people working. What's your name? Jonathan Strong. Betty, Mr. Jonathan Strong.
I drink to the next insurrection in the West Indies.
It amuses Dr. Johnson to bait my friends.
I am in earnest. We cannot call ourselves civilized while this thing exists.
I think otherwise. And the evidence of history is on my side. All great civilizations were built on slavery.
How much greater the achievement, then, if we could build one without it?
On my word, it's a pleasure to see a face as God made it. Take away the powder, the paint, and the stays. Most of them would be revealed as witches. You must call on me, Mrs. Lyle.
Thank you, Your Grace.
I should like to visit you in Jamaica, but they tell me the climate's deadly.
So it is, and if I have my way, we shall not return. There is no society, nothing for a lady of quality to do of an evening.
There's always something to do then. Soubise. You must meet Soubise on the condition you do not try to take him from me. Soubise? Soubise, Mrs. Lyle from Jamaica.
At your service, ma'am.
Do you have many free blacks in this country? Sailors, some in service, some in trade, musicians. Runaways? Plenty. In Jamaica, they hunt runaways with dogs, hang them in cages. It is easier to hide in the city.
Those blacks are whites that will help you.
Don't encourage him. Does your Mr. Lyle treat you kindly? When him drunk, him beat me. One day him gonna kill me.
Certainly. I brought my slave to England. It is my right and liberty.
How is it we hear the loudest yelps for liberty among the drivers of Negroes?
You better watch yours, David. It seems the lower class of woman in England is remarkably fond of the black.
Would you place the Duchess in that category?
Her Grace's humor is an exception.
The woman's a whore, and there's an end to it.
English blood will become contaminated by mixing until the nation resembles the mulattoes of New Orleans, both in complexion and in baseness of mind.
Your fortune, sir, is based upon these unfortunates. How dare you decry their presence here? What would you do with them?
Have them gelded at the port of entry.
Mr. Lyle, every slave you bring into this country deprives some poor white native of employment.
Truth, Lord Mansfield, you have a black woman in your own house.
She is free.
They should be shipped back to the plantations. Suppose one of them, by virtue of winning a lottery ticket, becomes a landholder in this kingdom, or buys himself a seat in Parliament.
I thought you planters had purchased all these seats already.
But if such things disturb your dreams, there is a remedy. Stop them at source. Stop the African trade.
Gentlemen, we shall not settle these matters tonight. I have secured a remarkable Austrian boy as a tutor for my son. Would it please you to hear him? It seems that he started composing at the age of 6.
Brandy in the dining room. Where is it? I don't know, sir. God. You black scum! Black scum!
No, not here.
Take that, Bridget. Oh, come with me. There.
Property of David Lyle, Esquire.
Even the swelling of the legs is a result of the beating. Some 4 or 5 ribs are broken. And there is severe inflammation of the chest. No doubt the kidneys are ruptured. Where's the oboe?
Without.
Don't lose it, Granville. Brother James has a notion to take the family orchestra out on the river this Sunday or the next.
Oh, capital idea.
Now, did you fall? Or were you hit on the head?
With a pistol, sir.
There may be damage to the brain, and I fear for his eyes. He must be in a hospital.
Well, if you can admit him, I will pay for it.
I'll try St. Bartholomew's.
Morning, Jonathan.
Mr. Sharp.
How many fingers?
3.
Very good.
I'm much better, sir. Every day better. Oh, I can walk and do anything. Only sometimes. Terrible pain.
Well, you can't stay much longer. You've been here 4 months already. Oh, I brought you some clothes.
I confess I've no recollection as to your size.
Well, thank you, sir.
And the food has arrived at appointed times.
Oh, yes, thank you, sir.
Now, what's to be done with you, Jonathan?
I don't know, sir. Oh, I can work for you, Mr. Sharp. Do anything.
Have you sent a message to your master?
No, sir. Him say him kill me if him see me again.
Jonathan, what was the occasion of this beating?
No occasion, sir. Him always beat me.
We must find you some employment.
I'd rather sit on my veranda and drink rum. They've invited to Hampton Court, but my wife insists on another season at home.
Home. England is not home to me, not anymore. We've carved out new lives over there. We owe England nothing. We don't need the British Army to protect us from the Indians, or to keep our niggers in order. Now, these plans to tax the American colonies, that's what's going to be...
Gateway, stop!
That is my slave. Is that the boy you threw out of your house?
He ran away. There he is in good health, and by his dress in service, too, walking down Fenchurch Street as if he owned it. Coachman, that black yonder. Keep behind him, but keep him in sight.
Trouble is, I've no use for him. You're going back. Why don't you buy him? You make a field slave, £50.
I don't want him.
40, and that's a bargain.
He's run away once, and that means trouble. But I'll give you 30, if you undertake to deliver him on board my ship on Wednesday next.
Done. One Negro man slave, the reversion and reversions, remainder and remainders, rents, profits, services of the said slave.
But remember, if you can't get him on board, he's still yours.
What's this? What's the back been up to?
Well, nothing, sir.
Lock him up.
On what charge?
He's a runaway.
Oh, no, sir.
Keep him out of sight.
Come on, Blackie.
Will you write a letter for me?
It'll cost you a penny.
I has no money, but the gentleman will pay.
Your master?
He's a friend.
A friend?
Mr. Granville Shaw.
I might.
So I sent my man to find out who the signatory might be. But he was informed by the jailer that no such person existed. Now, this aroused my suspicion, so I went myself to the prison.
And found it was the Negro you brought to me?
Indeed. And the reason for the secrecy became apparent. The boy was detained without charge or warrant. I insisted that the Lord Mayor summon those persons who had detained him, and in my presence.
Good.
Now, on the appointed day, there was no one there but a notary with a bill of sale for the lad and a ship's captain to take him away. Now, the Lord Mayor, having heard the case, says the boy has not stolen anything. He is not guilty of any offense and is at liberty to go. Whereupon, the captain seizes Jonathan by the arm and claims him as the property of Mr. Carr. Now, Mr. Beach, the coroner, comes up behind me and whispers in my ear, "Charge him." At this, I turned upon the captain. "Sir, I charge you for an assault." On this, the captain quits his hold of Jonathan's arm. We all bowed to the Lord Mayor and came away, Jonathan following me and no one daring to touch him.
Well done.
Gentleman insisted he must see you, Mr. Granville.
His name?
David Lyle. Which one of you is Granville Sharp?
At your service.
Sir, you have meddled in my affairs for your own amusement. It is unwise to come between a gentleman and his property.
Your property?
Jonathan Strong, my slave. You, sir, are a meddling fool, and I demand satisfaction.
I do not quite understand you, sir.
He is challenging you to a duel, Granville.
At your earliest convenience.
My brother will not be available.
Not dueling, no. I'm not afraid of you, but you must ask for some other form of satisfaction.
I have. I've obtained a writ against you, charging you with the loss of my slave and making a claim for damage.
Excellent. I will fight you with the laws of England.
Stupid meddling clerk. I am a lawyer, sir, and I tell you that you have no more defense than if you'd stolen my horse. Under the law, you are a common thief. Good day, Mr. Sharp.
He's right, Granville.
I cannot believe the law can be so unjust.
We will have to find someone to defend you.
I will defend myself.
You've never opened a law book in your life.
Well, I shall open one tomorrow.
Lyle had misjudged his adversary. Sharp studied the next day, the next week, and for months to come. He became an expert in the laws of England. His first move was to bring a countersuit against Lyle himself.
But this is ridiculous, is it not?
Far from it. His claim under habeas corpus cannot be denied.
Sharp could win the case.
I did not say that.
But the ruling of York and Talbot in 1729 is absolutely explicit. A slave brought to England remains a slave.
No, that was my former opinion.
For?
Sharp has circulated this. To myself, Dr. Blackstone, other leading members of the bar. He quotes, among other things, the previous ruling of Chief Justice Holt, that there is no such thing as a slave by the law of England.
Lord Mansfield.
Oh, there may be a contradiction in the law. The laws of property are clear upon the one side, and the laws concerning the rights of the king's subjects are equally clear upon the other. I hope it will never be finally discussed. For I would have all masters think them free, and all Negroes think they were not. Because then they'd both behave better.
Are you asking me to withdraw?
You would lose the slave, but Sharp might be satisfied. The whole thing may be forgotten.
Do I hear any further bids, gentlemen? Any advance? Go in. Go in. Any more? Gone. One chestnut gelding, sold to the gentleman at the back. Lot number 3, property of Captain Holmes. One boy slave, direct from the Guinea coast. Guaranteed sound in wind and limb and free of all diseases. Captain Holmes is most particular in his choice of commissioned slaves. This one is a Fantee, a breed known for good humour and willingness to serve. He already has a few words of English, will train well, and will make an admirable decoration for a household of quality. Turn the boy round. There's an excellent servant in the making. How much do I bid for the boy? Who'll start me off at 20? 20 guineas. 20, sir, thank you. 25? 25?
You want to buy the boy?
No. But I might buy a field hand to take back to Virginia.
26
The law's still alive.
Let's take a look at them.
Any advance? 27 and a half. Any more? 30. 30 and a half. Do I
Which one do you think?
Any more?
That's the one to buy.
And a half. 31, sir. 31 for this fine specimen. 32 and a half. 32, 33, 34, 34, 34 and a half. 35. 35 I'm bid. Sold for 35 guineas. Take the boy down. Lot number 4. One-man slave, James Somerset. He's the property of Mr. Fothergill. Now, this one's a runaway. He's a powerful, well-set-up young fellow, as you can see. Now, who'll start the bidding? Who'll start me at 20 guineas? 20 guineas. 20 guineas, sir. 20 and a half. 21. 21.
Oh, did I send you a copy of my pamphlet on the Old Testament prophecies?
Indeed. And one on the flooding of the River Thames. Puzzles me how you find the time to do it.
Oh, I have plenty of time while Lord Mansfield prevaricates.
You cannot force that old fox to do anything.
The longer he avoids an answer, the louder will the question be.
Mr. Sharp. Oh, sorry, sir. They're selling slaves down near the docks.
Yes?
I see some gentlemen going to buy a runaway like myself. A boy named Somerset.
Are you sure he's the runaway?
Oh, yes, sir.
And where is he now?
The man said he was going to send him to Virginia.
Where's the captain?
What the devil do you want?
I have a writ ordering the release of the slave, James Somerset.
Release him? Let's see a piece of paper.
The law takes no notice of a Negro. Houses, lands, Negroes, and other real estate may be offered in payment of debt. How can something be a possession in Jamaica and not in London? My lords, a judgment for Somerset would be an invitation to 300,000 blacks, colonial blacks, to mutiny and transport themselves here to sleep under the blanket of Magna Carta. My lords, my client seeks simple justice, an affirmation of his right to property.
Mr. Davy.
My lords, I will confine myself to the particular object before the court, the pretensions of Mr. Stewart to a property in his slave according to the laws of Virginia. Have the laws of Virginia any more influence, power, or authority in this country than those of Japan or Turkey? Suppose a Turkish pasha come into this country with half a score of Circassian women slaves for his amusement. And suppose they should say to the pasha, "Sir, we no longer desire to be the objects of your lust." I believe he would make a miserable figure at the bar of the Old Bailey on an indictment for rape. I cite the case of Cartwright, who brought a slave into this country from Russia and would scourge him. For this, he was questioned, and it was ruled that England was too pure an air for slaves to breed. That was in the 11th year of the reign of Queen Elizabeth. I hope the air does not blow worse since then. The moment they set foot on English ground, that moment they are free. The case we are presenting here today is that a black is not a thing. And if he is not a thing, he is the king's subject.
Yes?
Mr. Granville Sharp, sir.
It's very courteous of you to come. Sit down. You've not seen fit to attend the case.
Oh, I feared your lordship might think it a provocation for me to be present in your court.
You know, of course, why I've asked you to visit me.
In the hope of persuading me to abandon my submission, my lord. Ask Stuart to withdraw.
He will not. He wants his property. But why do you persist?
When I began, my lord, it was from mere compassion for the plight of one man. But when I was forced to defend myself, I conceived so great an admiration for our Constitution and for the beauty of English law that I could not bear to see it flouted, to see our ancient liberties put at risk for the sake of this shameful trade.
Have you any idea how many slaves there are in this country now?
15 or 20,000.
If your Negro wins his case, there will be that many extra beggars on the streets tomorrow. Will you look after them? Do you call £50 a head too high?
I do not know.
If all these are set free, there follows a loss of £700,000 sterling to the owners. Will you pay it? And how will the law stand in respect of their wages or claims for past coercion? It's my duty to consider the consequences, possibly the appalling consequences of my decision.
I ask merely, my Lord Chief Justice, that you should interpret the law.
Fiat Justitia Ruat Seal.
Beg pardon, sir?
Not you. I was thinking aloud. A Latin phrase. It means, let justice be done, though the heavens fall.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
Dorothy?
Yes, sir?
I'm giving judgment in the case of James Somerset tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
You know about the case?
Yes, Justice.
Have you been to the court?
No, Justice. I don't interest in it too much. I don't understand it.
Of course not.
Yes, sir. You want to know what I think, sir? The law make no difference. The law is white people business.
That is not so.
No difference. It make no difference. We have a law in Jamaica, sir, say nobody can get more than 39 lashes. No owner man can give a slave more than 39 lashes. My sister slave for a redneck Bakra man. One Christmas, him take up him liquor. And he drag her out and give her 39 more. And so him go on, drinking and beating, till she dead. And nobody touch him after that. But them have another law. And that law say, you can't trouble a man for killing his own property.
The question is whether the captain has returned a sufficient cause for the detainer of Somerset. The cause returned is that he had kept him by order of his master with an intent to send him abroad to Virginia there to be sold. So high an act of dominion must derive its force from the law of the country, and if to be justified here, must be justified by the law of England. The state of slavery is of such a nature that it cannot be introduced on any reasons, moral or political, but only by positive law. It is so odious that nothing can be suffered to support it but positive law. Whatever inconveniences, therefore, may follow from the decision, I cannot say this case is allowed or approved by the law of England. And therefore, the black must be discharged.